Hey, board gamers, BJ from Board Game Gumbo here. We had some technical issues. I had no sound, no nothing. I had to kind of restart it there. Hey, board gamers, BJ from Board Game Gumbo here, back with another episode of Gumbo Live. It's episode number 156, Gumbo Live, the number one Facebook Live Tuesday night talk show in Ireland, dedicated to board games. Our special guest tonight, Glenn from Board Games and Bourbon. He's back. It's the end of the season, and we had to get a special guest to close it out. He's the designer of Siege of Valeria, but that's not what we're talking about tonight. We've got some special games to talk with him tonight. Hit us up on social media, on Twitter, on Facebook, or on Bluesky at Board Game Gumbo, and we'll be looking for your questions in the chat queue. But enough blather. Let's get right to our special guest. Glenn, welcome in.
Hey, thanks for having me back. This is such a surprise since I begged you yesterday to put me on.
We planned this for months, and I'm so glad that we had this special occasion to knock out the last show of the season. What a weird thing. I don't know. Was it frozen on your end, or was it just on my end when it started? That was really weird.
It's hard for me to tell because you just glow. So I was just looking at your illumination, and I was awestruck.
We are hoping that Verla, the Gumbo Overlord, is going to be checking in because she loves chatting with you, Glenn. But until then, we do have another person I want to bring in right now.
Is it just as good? Ah, never mind.
It's the name Father, and he's almost.
See ya. Nice chatting with you, Glenn. It's unfair to hold me up to Verla as an example, though.
True. None of us can be. Good to see you, Steve.
Good to see you too,
Glenn and Steve. Are we really board game enthusiasts? Are we really? Can we really make that claim?
Well, if that claim is at all tied to the number of gaming conventions you go to, there's going to be some disappointed self-reflection going on here. I didn't go to Gen Con. I didn't go to Origins. I didn't go to Gamma. I did go to Rage Con.
Oh, yeah.
In Reno, and I was a speaker.
And I think Johnny Pack was there, and Ben from 5 Games for Doomsday, right?
Yeah, and they did a really cool show.
Okay, so you are a content creator. Steve also went to a convention this summer.
I did. We had our ChuckCon up at the lake at Jake's in New York. Very lovely time.
Is ChuckCon related to Chuck's Gateway game?
Yeah, it is. It's named after our good friend Chuck.
I love Chuck. Chuck and I used to talk a lot, and boy, did that strike as a surprise. Chuck is no longer with us.
And, no, he is not.
But he's with us in spirit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we toast him each year.
We've had 3 ChuckCons, and I think you keep the family in touch, telling them that we're keeping this spirit.
I do. I got in touch with Kathy and told her to tell their daughters who are now recent college graduates who were going to college at the same time our daughter was, and so Chuck and I stayed in touch through the family, college searches and all that, and so we told her to tell the kids, the not so kids, that we're still remembering Chuck each year.
Oh, Chuck was great, man. That actually was one of my favorite groups. And I will tell you, that group means so much to me that it's hard for me to go in the group. It just really chokes me up to visit and comment, But that is one of the best groups there is, with the best people. I love that group.
It's a great group, and we have met so many good people. Speaking of good people, Verla's checking in on the chat. She says, tell us about RageCon, Glenn.
Yeah, well, RageCon is supposed to be named like Reno, but really what it is it's for people who can't control their anger. And it just is just a lot of angry people, and there's no winners. Ever. No, but it's RageCon for Reno Area Gaming Expo or something like that.
That makes more sense now.
I mean,
I missed it. I'm furious that I missed it now.
Well,
you're angry that you missed it.
I'm ready.
And it actually was quite large. They had it in a convention center attached to a hotel. And a lot of gaming going on. They had speaking panels. They had retail and a lot of really cool stuff, a lot of handmade stuff. I bought a bunch for my kid. This person there makes these dragons that are like 3D and movable. And it was really, really cool. Wonderful people all around. I taught some games. I played some games. I taught Romanova, White Castle. I taught the Artemis Project, which I love. You know, that's just a really fun game where everyone can compete. Now, yes, so you have the follow up.
Almost.
Yeah, Bruno's
Almost. Yeah.
Odyssey, which is
Hey, we got Patrick Newman checking in. Patrick's been to a convention this summer. He went to one, I think, in San Antonio. Oh, and Cindy's checking in too.
Hey, Cindy. Hey, Patrick.
Have you ever been to San Antonio?
Yeah, I was. I was down in San Antonio, went there for a wedding. I was like on a subset of San Antonio where there was really nothing going on. Like
Except for the wedding.
Yeah, like I checked into the hotel and it just had a note that said call this number, and like I called, and the woman who runs the hotel was also the bank teller. She's like, all right, I'll be over. And then there was like it had, of course, it had great barbecue, but the place was a buffet, and it was amazing because it said Wednesday night. It said tonight's entertainment is Elvis Presley. I was like,
what?
This is great. And
Did
so we
you
had
walk into a time machine.
Yeah, it was the actual Elvis Presley, which was amazing.
Two L's, right?
Oh,
well,
Elvis
XL. Later years. I heard they're taking down all this stuff in Vegas because people don't know anymore.
Oh, now come on.
I know. I was very disappointed the first time I went to Vegas, and I showed up at a door and it was closed. The Liberace Museum.
Ah,
man. Yeah.
Do people still know Liberace and Elvis and,
well, they might know him from a recent HBO movie.
Right.
That was, might know him for being lumpy.
Wayne Newton, that was the guy I was trying to think of. Also,
yeah, Wayne Newton.
I saw Wayne Newton live, by the way, in Vegas.
I heard he was great. I think he's actually in maybe he's in Reno. He's somewhere else. He's in like some satellite city where it's.
Was he at RageCon?
Well, I did not see anyone, but I haven't seen him in a while. So maybe I just didn't recognize him. There was a very musical hot dog vendor. I didn't ask his name, but he was very friendly and could hold a note.
But didn't you tell me that Johnny Pack and Ben did like an acoustic show or something?
They did an electric show. They did like 90s like Cure music and stuff for like an hour.
Nice.
Yeah, lots of fun.
So Patrick picked up Toledo, Clank, and Libertalia. You played any of those before, Glenn? Any of those ring a bell?
Yeah, they do. Clank, Clank is the same guy who made Dune. And
Paul Dinn. Yep.
Let me first tell you, this perspective is coming from somebody who wishes I can make a bad game. I wish. Siege of Valeria gets good reviews.
Are you saying Clank is a bad game? Is
no, not at all. I just want to preface my adoration and where the point of view is coming from. Of course, I admire everyone, so take it with a grain of salt when I have thoughts on things. Yeah, I've heard good things, Verla, about that game.
Welcome to Pontification with our guest, Glenn Flaherty. Go ahead, take it away. Pontificate for us.
Clank to me has too much setup, and then it has like card play that you never really get to do much with your cards. And there were some expansions that were cool, and they added, different twists. But at the end of the day, it was a lot of setup, separate out the cards and all that stuff. And Dune touched on a lot of Clank elements to me. And it was really, what I appreciate about it was that it was pretty straightforward. Like the game is literally like just move up tracks.
Yeah.
So
it's on the board, basically how to play the game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it kind of reminded me of some of my favorite Shem Phillips games. Like I think Shem Phillips, coup de grace, his masterpiece is Raiders of Scythia.
Really?
That game combined all of the expansions of Raiders of the North into one game and then added some elements. It was really refined. I really bought into it. I thought the solo mode was excellent. I love that game. Anyway, that also Raiders is moving up tracks. You move up some tracks, like the bad tracks, so badly that it starts to become good again, stuff like that.
Yeah, a lot of these games are like that.
Yeah. So
can we teach Verla Clank at a convention? Maybe ChuckCon 4?
Have we
come up with a name for it?
I'm still full of rage, and I refuse to help anyone who doesn't know.
We haven't got a location. The location needs to be themed somehow based on where it was.
I'm voting for Glenn's basement.
I say Chuck E. Cheese.
I'm throwing it out there. A Chuck E. Cheese would be a good one. I don't know if Chuck would approve of Chuck E. Cheese.
And then you can eat that food, and then you can Chuck later.
Yeah.
And
I
then
don't know if he would approve of that one.
have that theme run through the whole thing.
So Steve, we knew that Glenn was coming tonight, and so you and I prepped something, right?
We did, yeah.
Yeah. What are you drinking tonight there, Steve?
I'm drinking the Chattanooga 99 Rye.
Glenn, thumbs up, thumbs down?
I don't have my drink with me, but I do have a new love, which is probably going to make put my car up in cinder blocks. I'm really into Michelob Ultra Seltzer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Not even the cactus pear?
No.
Just the regular seltzer? Oh,
yeah.
Wait.
Yeah. Good.
Okay.
Good.
Now he's ready.
Sun's out, guns out.
Yeah. We wanted you to rate our choices. So Steve came up with one. And what is yours again?
Chattanooga Rye. Chattanooga 99 Rye.
Thumbs up, thumbs down, Glenn?
Well, I mean, Chattanooga Choo Choo, I guess is what the inspiration was for that drink.
Yes,
you and the
absolutely.
Golden Girls are enjoying it. I would give that I'll start us. Not saying it's good or bad, but I'll start us at a 5 out of 10, just so we have room.
Sure. Yeah, that's the way you have to play these BJ games. You need room in both.
That's true. Need some room.
Right. You need room for disappointment. Yeah.
In my official Secret Cabalist Till I Die glass, I've got Bullet Bourbon Frontier Whiskey. Just the regular Bullet.
Bullet is great. Bullet for a long time was made by Four Roses. I believe it's made out of Indiana now. Mm-hmm. And they moved.
Four Roses is a good one, right?
Four Roses was almost out of business for a long time, and then someone bought it and resurrected it. And they started by actually making brews for other people, and now they're doing their own thing.
Oh, Patrick's throwing one I haven't heard of: Celtic Cross Meadery Orange Blossom Mead.
Wow, that almost sounds like a candle my wife buys at Bed Bath and Beyond.
That sounds like a track on that VW Bug racing game, that Beetle Adventure Racing.
Sounds like a song by Enya.
He's trying to do he's trying to do the transition to TIR NA NOG anyway.
So
yeah.
Hey, there it is. It's right behind me, and it launched today.
He came prepared. Oh, wait. There's somebody behind you. Were you expecting a special guest there? Oh my God!
Hey!
Welcome in the Gumbo Overlord.
I thought for a second you were going to say my baby was behind me again.
That's what I was going for. I was doing some shtick, but
Verla.
I wanted you to look behind you.
Good to see you. Yeah, well, and thanks for all. I know you guys really threw this together all at the last moment. You know, you're real swell pals, but it's good to hang out anyway.
And months of planning. Months and months of planning.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it did. Months and months of planning. And you can see that no matter how hard BJ prepares, it still looks like it was thrown together in like 2 hours.
Speaking of that, we should talk about the game he mentioned, don't you think, Steve?
Sure.
Let's see if I can throw it up there.
Okay.
We've got a Kickstarter today for a fantastic game. At least it was number one of my most anticipated. I just haven't played it yet. And that is TIR NA NOG. Am I pronouncing it right?
Yeah, fine. You can call it whatever you want as long as you back it.
I am a backer.
Okay, great. Yeah, no, that one actually did really, really well. You know, it just came out this year, and we, made a lot of decisions that were new for Grand Gamers Guild. We had a lot of dedicated copies that we wanted to get out to people so they could review it ahead of time. Isaac was great. Isaac's been at a bunch of conventions showing it off, really getting ground roots anticipation for it. And Mark, who
Dan, you don't have to regret anything. Glenn's going to tell you a special secret about how you can get your very own copy of TIR NA NOG.
Oh, yeah. Well, it just involves going to Paris and sneaking in the luggage of BJ. Okay.
No.
And so Isaac was doing a great job getting it out there. Everyone was, Jason too, and Mark Spector, who heads up Grand Gamers Guild. I talked to him. He's a fine guy, and we talk every day. I mean, about everything. He's really a brother more than anything else. And we we're really lucky through our community who's incredibly supportive and generous with their energy. They got us onto the top of the Origins hot list, which got us onto BGG videos. And I think Chaz Marlin did a video on us. And I want to say, I'm not sure if this is true, but I think of the top 10 or 11 games that were the hot games for Origins, Grand Gamers Guild had a hand in 7 of them.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was pretty good for Gen Con too. And so what's been happening is the games have been selling out. I mean, the game just came out in May and it's sold out, every copy. We don't even have copies to give people to review or stores to look at. I mean, everything everywhere is gone, which is awesome. And the best part about it is that it delivers. So everyone who has it is enjoying it, and they're saying great things about it. The art is great. The way it plays out is really interesting. You know, I didn't really expect this, but even Tom Vassell, I did not send him a copy, but he was saying that he was playing it and he found like the gameplay really fascinating. Something, you know, along those lines. Really wonderful words. Alex Board Game Go just reviewed it. He said, I really like this game. I mean, like everyone is really loving it. So what we're doing now, and isn't that a great cover?
It is. This is to be honest. This is what got it on the list for me when I was preparing the Gen Con pre-list.
Yeah.
It's that cover was so striking. I was like,
Right.
I gotta know what's about this game. But it's the gameplay that intrigued me though, and I'd like you to tell the chat crew what's this game about? How does it play?
First, I want to talk about your first point. Mark and I talk a lot about like making games visually attractive. That is your opening salvo into any relationship with the customer. You know, it's a visual medium, how they're going to find out about it. So let's make that. I love that you're showing pictures that I took, and this is like my living room. So,
is that really?
Yeah, that's like literally right behind me. But yeah, it was weird, like seeing myself on Rado. I'm like, that's my kitchen table. That's awesome. So,
are you Marcel P on BGG?
You know, whatever it is. Yeah, is that? Oh yeah, keep going. Let's see. Some fine art, Marcel. Man, you get my thumbs up. That's good stuff. But anyway, I took similar pictures. You'll see them up there. Mm-hmm. But the art is really unique. It stands out. It draws you in. And then the gameplay, right? So what is the gameplay? The premise of the story, and what I really love about Grand Gamers Guild now, certainly going forward, is that in the gameplay, the game is not the star of the show. The gameplay is the guide that brings you, the hero, to the amazing, through the story into the amazing conclusion that you want. And so in this game, you're playing as storytellers, trying the gates to TIR Na Nog, the Celtic Otherworld, have opened. You're going to go in and you're trying to come back with the most amazing stories that you can tell. And then when you put them in your tableau, there's these little cards that tell you about what stories would do best and where they are and what their values are. And you start scoring points for what stories you put down, how they're arranged. If there's clumps of stories together, there's modifiers throughout the game. But what's really unique about it, what I really enjoy, if I had to encapsulate, if I had to pinpoint exactly what sets this apart, you strip away theme, even though the theme's great, strip away the art, which is awesome. It's this. It's that the first phase of the game is putting out your storytellers, your little pieces in between cards. There's a world of TIR Na Nog that are all of these cards. And you are putting down your meeple to say, okay, I'm hoping to have a card that I'm touching. I'm setting myself up to benefit. That's a personal tableau, but those cards start off in TIR Na Nog. And when you put your cards down, your meeples down on the cards, you're deciding one of these cards is what I want to get. But it is in reverse order that people remove their storyteller and take a card. So your best laid plans might be blown up. You have to hedge your bets at all times. So you need not only the main plan, you need the backup plan. You have to think about how you're going to lay down your cards because they have specific requirements that you're aiming for. you might be in a jam where the color isn't right or the numbers aren't right. So you need to go for something else that modifies what you're doing. Because the cards, as you can see, as you put them down, they not only have art, they might have powers on them as well. The cards, you can see, they have general colors and general numbers on them, and they modify as you go. And so it really leads to a series of turns where you're really engrossed in it. You're trying to figure out the puzzle out there, the puzzle in front of me, the puzzle I have now, the puzzle I want to solve by the end of the game. So there's a lot of really cool stuff going on. This is a game I'm super happy to be associated with. I really think, no hyperbole, you know, anyone who gets the game is really going to love it.
Yeah, that's what intrigues me, is that both a puzzle and also the storytelling element. There's I always forget the name of that game. The one where you a call of something, and you're putting the cards out that tells kind of a story about your character and all the adventures that they take. And a lot of times I don't even take the most optimal card that's going to score me points, because you really want to put the prince who worries about the future and is a good swordsman. You kind of want the story to come out when you play these cards.
Yeah,
I'm kind of getting that sense from here too.
Yeah, well, these are almost like, you can imagine like Dixit. They're kind of like images. They're a little bit open-ended. So if you wanted to like look as your cards are laid out, you know, you could even come up with your own stories. Like you see the characters, their names. Next to that is a setting. It's not per se a story like, here's this guy went here and then this thing occurred. It's not like that. These cards you're laying out trigger cards that are to the far left that tells you what requirements you want to do to score, you know. And yeah, the reception has been fantastic, up, down, left, and right.
And all of these are all actual places in Call to Adventure. Thanks, Dave. Boy, I could not remember the name of the game. Call to Adventure.
Is Call to Adventure the one where you like toss runes or something?
Exactly. Yeah,
I think so. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, they may try to get the meeple in other places, but here in the US of A, we can still say meeple, right, Glenn?
Yeah. USA.
Don't bring that weak sauce to our Olympics here, our board game Olympics, because we're going to still use meeple.
That's right. Yeah, you don't. That's what we're going to do. Yeah, but no, and the game's been doing really good. I think, like, you know, it's a reprint. We're trying to get in people's hand. We set the finding goal for like $1,000, and we hit that in like, I think 6 minutes, you know, which was great, you know. So
it's already been funded. You got almost 500 backers already for a reprint, but there's some cool things. I saw Isaac post today that it's not just about getting this game, which is very tough to get right now, but there's some other things you can get. Are you familiar with what else you can get in this Kickstarter?
Yeah. And I will also say too, the game has no advertising. Like, this is literally just people. We haven't advertised it.
This is word of mouth, right?
Okay, well, I was going to ask, because I've never heard of it until about this past week when you've been posting. A few random people have posted, and you're saying this is a reprint. Like, how did I miss it first time?
Verla doesn't read the Gumbo blog.
We did not do any pre-advertising. We don't have any advertising going on now. This is just totally like really just grassroots people coming to the thing. No, we might have marketing going forward. We'll see. Mark has managed to get himself locked out of Facebook and a few places. So we have no access to our accounts.
But I'm hearing about there's expansion modules. There's a standalone 18 card escape room game.
So Grand Gamers Guild, I'll start with the 18 card, it's in the vein of a series called Holiday Hijinks.
Oh yeah, like the turkey thing and all that stuff.
Yes, this whole line, it's incredibly successful. I mean, really successful for us, you know, on a company that operates on, like, you know, it's a small company, right? So we do like a couple thousand, you know, 1,000, 2,000 print runs. I don't know. We're way over 20,000 on the Holiday Hijinks. And I want to say at PAX Unplugged, we sold like 800 copies just there. We
should always refer to him as famed board game designer Isaac Shalev. That's his official name.
Okay, well, and you know what?
FBGD.
Yes, and like he mentioned, finally he's going to be known for something other than his looks. which is great, you know.
Fame
so,
board game designer.
That's right. And modest board game designer.
And modest.
And he so the 18 card game is in the vein of the holiday hijinks. And you know, it's more like you're in TIR NA NOG, Journey to TIR NA NOG. We have two wonderful covers for it, and we're kind of going back and forth. Do we want one that alludes to this green cover? We have another one that's white and very, you know, evocative of the journey that you go on, and we might even put it up to a vote what we want it to look like. But the story has you going into and trying to come back from TIR NA NOG. And it has a lot of riddles. There's an app you're going to use and all this stuff. It's a whole lot of fun. But it's wholly independent from TIR NA NOG itself. It envelops the world, but you don't need it to play the base game or anything like that. There's also an expansion, which I believe we're going to be unveiling little bits here and there. I know more than some. That's all I can really say. But there
Blessings and Burdens modular expansion is what the Kickstarter says.
Yep.
So
there's 6 modules in it. And
here's your buddy Tom.
Yeah,
I keep playing
Tom.
this game. It's so interesting to me. I am fascinated by this game.
Yeah. I love that those, you know, sincere comments that are unprompted. I mean, we didn't even send a copy. I don't even know how I got it in front of him. So it's awesome to see stuff like that. But the expansion is 6 modules. It has many different things in it that changes the experience for people. I don't want to reveal too much because there is a plan to reveal it as we go to keep the Kickstarter exciting. You know, I really love when people are in Kickstarters and it feels like an event. You know, I do like
all the wooden tokens though. That's an upgrade that I can get behind.
The deluxe tokens are really, really nice. Should the funding be robust enough where we can just absorb it, we might have other wooden things.
Verla, it looks like Glenn is hiding he's hiding the expansion. I guess you're still drawing it, Glenn. Is that what it is? Are you still?
Well, yeah. I just stopped it right now, drawing it. I have my 4-year-old's crayon.
Right.
And I only, as an adult, started calling it crayon, by the way. I just called it crowns growing up.
Crowns? Crayola.
Yeah. But working on the stuff. I mean, you know, they're great developers and artists who are working on things, you know, behind the scenes. And I'm working a lot with somebody named Bridget. She does a ton of stuff too, and she's been so helpful, and she does a lot of the graphic design. And then we have like the artwork there by another member of the team.
I'm just fascinated by this artwork, Glenn. I'm mesmerized by this artwork.
As you should be. It's fantastic, no doubt.
So Dan has a question: does the retail version come with all these wooden fancy bits?
No.
Okay.
Nope. You have to get the deluxe version. You know, when you go to retail, Bar's End, I want to say, is the Shalev, Slingerland, and Delicato, and Burns there. No, the retail version, you know, you have a lot of parameters when you do that. You know, you want to really treat the people who back you and support you early so they get the good stuff. But also when you go to retail, you know, you have to try to hit price points and make things more accessible. Man, we've even had experiences dealing with Barnes & Noble, which is a whole nother can of worms there, you know. But so no, if you want the wooden bits, deluxe is the way to go. And you're not going to regret it. Everyone loves it. And we have so many people asking to get the deluxe wooden upgrade bits for the game, which is going to be available in the pledge manager. And you don't need a pledge for the big box game to have access to the pledge manager after the fact, just so you know.
So 1 to 5 players, takes about 45 minutes, designed by Isaac Shalev, Jason Slingerland, and then Berens and Indelicato are the artists, and that's Grand Gamers Guild. It's already funded, so we don't have to worry about it. This is a second printing, and you can get the extra bits, and you can get the 18 card escape room, and you can get the expansion if you hit the Kickstarter page, right?
Yep, totally. And, you know, there's a lot of good stuff happening around it. Like, people are from all over the world are talking to us about the game. So, you know, fingers crossed, the luck of the Irish, get my Shamrock, you know, other good things might be happening in the near future. But yeah, really, really great. You know, if anyone has a few bucks to burn, I'm telling you, this is a great investment. Like, not only is it a great game, you're going to love seeing it on the table. It has, without the blow up expense of having minis or anything like that, the presence on the table and the look of it, you're going to find yourself just staring at those cards going, wow, and just being drawn in. It's really special. It feels good. I feel excited to talk about this game. It's great.
I'm ready. I'm ready to play it.
Good.
Speaking of exciting games, got another game we want to talk to you about, Glenn.
Okay. All right.
And that's a game that Steve and I have been playing. BJ from Board Game Gumbo. I've got my guest here, Glenn from Board Games and Bourbon. We've been talking TIR NA NOG, and we're going to move a little to the south.
Look at you with your brogue.
We're going to move a little to the southeast and hit the Globe Theater. And Steve, tell us about your recent plays. I want to know the name fathers. What does he think about Slings and Arrows, the brand new Unmatched set?
Okay. You ready for the too long didn't read version of things?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Get right to the chase.
This is another Unmatched. If you like to love Unmatched, you will like to love this. It's not going to change your mind about the Unmatched system, but it is a very good, interesting effort to continue making it thematic. What
good night,
you
Patrick.
get with this, good night, Patrick. Say good night to Cindy too.
Hey,
and Evan's checking in. What's up, Evan?
That's who I was waving at.
No.
Evan.
Oh, Evan. Hey, Evan. Oh, we should all kind of make Evan face. All right, there we go. With Slings and Arrows, you have some echoes of some other versions of things. So in the past with Unmatched, you've had something like Jekyll and Hyde, where you have an either or, a monster or the doctor, or you have Alice, who's big or little. You get that here also with Hamlet, who is to be or not to be.
Right.
He kind of hurts himself like Mr. Hyde when he's in not to be mode, but he's a little more dangerous that way. So you get that kind of echo, but thematically so. You have the other characters being Titania, the Queen of Fairy. Simon and I didn't love that character so much.
Oh, I love that one.
Powering
up those little cards. Oh, I love that.
I feel like what you've got with that is a kind of a rotating version of schemes with the of scheming cards.
Oh, okay.
With having your special spell out. And you've got a little mini deck of those. So it's like a permanent scheme that's in place for you with Titania. But it was very interesting.
As long as you don't use it, then you lose it.
Yes, you do. But what I thought was really interesting that was kind of thematic here was the other two characters, the three sisters, the witches, and Shakespeare. Shakespeare has, as you can see on some of the cards, each of the cards
if you
has
had Steve liking Shakespeare the best out of all four categories. Yeah, drink if you had that.
I'm kind of torn on it. It's one or two. I don't know. I think I might like the sisters perhaps a little bit better. But with the labeling of the cards, you have things like alas and again and all are punished and things like my kingdom for a horse. If you can lay out a set of cards in your discard that creates 10 syllables, iambic pentameter.
I love that.
You then get to discard all of those and replay your last card in the row. It's a goofy little literary way of recycling your card in there. And
I've got a question for you about those cards.
Shoot.
Yes. The older I get, the less I can see. How easy is it to read those cards?
This is not
Portal Games.
It's not that bad. The only problem, as I'm saying, you can tell from these, the cheaters that I'm wearing right now. I'm right there with you, Glenn. The only thing that I had a harder time reading on the cards was the small little script in the lower corner that tells you how many copies of the card are in the deck.
That's a good point. That's fair.
The actual flavor text of the card and the directions of what you're doing, right on target.
Welcome into the show.
Hey, Chris. How you doing? That's a goofy little gimmicky one with Shakespeare, and you get the same kind of thing with the three sisters. Their cards have ingredients for spells that will go in your potion.
We go. Yeah, three sisters.
But instead of being in the discard, you're right, they will go into your cauldron, and your cauldron has the ability to say if you match up three different ingredients, the snake, the bat's wing, and the lizard, then you get an extra special power. You can do them two at a time, but you've got to cycle through those wisely, or else you can get kind of trapped with too many things in your cauldron, and
you lose them all.
You lose them all in one
This
fell
one it
swoop.
seems to be the one that people in my plays that people say is the most fun because of the cauldron and the mixing. Not necessarily the most powerful, but the most fun because they like putting together those little spells.
Yeah.
You've had the same experience?
I completely agree. I thought that it was most fun playing the Three Sisters. I thought it was, kind of goofy fun playing Shakespeare to try and get that lined up. I was terrible at it, but it was still fun. Hamlet seems pretty powerful. Hamlet has some flavor text in there where he's kind of vacillating and is not sure whether things are good or bad. Well, that special cards that he has will then cancel out the either or cards of another player, the either or choice. Hamlet has a lot of powers that will get rid of those cards' effects. And Simon used them to great effect against me. I think I've beaten him one game.
And we don't see this too often. Glenn, if you've played Unmatched, a lot of the characters have sidekicks. His sidekick is Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, of course, but it's one token instead of being multiple tokens. Because in the play, when you see Rosencrantz, you always see Guildenstern, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, interchangeable cannon fodder.
I thought that was very, very clever. It reminded me of when they did the Beowulf and the Little Red Riding Hood. Little Red and the Wolf. It's that somebody thought this through and said, "No, we're not going to make Rosencrantz and Guildenstern two tokens because they're always together."
Clever, goofy, literate fun, and if you like Unmatched, it's another good one.
That's awesome.
Verla, have you played Unmatched or in particular Slings and Arrows? No.
I haven't played any of it. I'm very curious because I kind of have been envisioning it being like dice thrown, and I don't see any dice. So, is this a deck builder, or is it kind of like Watergate, where you've each got the character and you're playing your cards, knocking each other out?
It's a straight skirmish game. It's a straight
skirmish game. Each person has a deck of 30 cards that are kind of thematically linked to their character, but they have the same gist. Movement, attack, defend, special powers or schemes. You move around the board to escape, and you've got little dials that are counting your kind of hit points on the way down, but your job is to knock out the hero on the other side. So it's a little bit more of a fighting and tactical skirmish game, which is right down my street.
Okay.
Yeah, you see the characters here on the board. Each one of those maps, and there's different maps in every box, plays different. They've got trap doors or secret doors or places where you're higher than the other players. So you're basically moving these characters around using the cards and your 3 actions, and you're trying to take out the other guy's plastic. That's the game. It's skirmish.
Okay.
The ability to attack, they do line of sight or attack very simply. It's color coded. You don't have to look at line of sight. If you are in a colored circle and attacking someone else from range who's in the same colored circle, you can reach them. If you're not, you can't. It has dumbed down war games to my level, which makes it acceptable for an awful lot of other people.
Oh, look at that. It says designer Rob Davio is one of them. It reminded me when you were describing it, there's a series of games called Street Master.
Okay.
And,
is that the ones from the Sadler Brothers?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Kind of reminded me of that. Very cool. I'll have to give this a shot someday.
Yeah.
We have not played it with 4. We've only played it one-on-one. But I think this would become even more fun if you did the 2v2 version. Because then all of a sudden, where one person might be weak, who you match up with is stronger. You might find some interesting synergies of the full scrum happening in 2v2.
That's awesome. So many good games to try. So little time.
Yeah.
So little time.
I would still say it's probably
second from way far away. Thanks for checking in. Hadn't played Unmatched yet. Looks fun, but I don't play 2 players. But you can play it 4. Right?
You can play it 4, and I honestly think it's many of them, if not most of them, are better at 4.
The Marvel sets brought in the 3, which is 1 versus 1 versus 1.
Yes.
And I have played many games of 3-player Unmatched, and it's been fun.
I would still probably say that Cobble and Fog of the lot is my favorite. But this is right there with the original as being a very solid, funky, literate little version of things.
As much as I love Cobble and Fog, and I do, I just love this set. And I think it's because of the characters themselves coming right off the pages of the folio. This is right up my alley. I just love this. And I don't think that this is an introductory set. This is some of them have some pretty clever mechanics.
Yes.
What's the learning curve?
The learning curve, I would probably say, is start with a different Unmatched.
Yeah.
To
The
begin
legend
with,
set.
to learn the legend set, or even Cobble and Fog. Cobble and Fog might have again another step up level with the idea of the Invisible Man and jumping off the board and such. The first one basically gets you the system, and again the system is move, attack, defend, special powers, and then learning what your deck has as its funky little wrinkles, because you can cancel out the effects of other people. It's basically a card game taking place with movement on a board. The cards are the game, though.
We used to play a lot of
curve is high because I can learn it, and I'm not super into the 4 and high 3 level games on BGG. I'm probably more of a mid 2 to mid 3.
And this fits
very
right.
learnable. Very learnable.
Oh, I'm so over reading ultra complicated rule books.
These
I was
are
just
not.
thinking the other day, I was there was some war game somebody sent me, and I panned it, and I felt bad that I panned it, but sometimes you just gotta speak your truth. But that game came with a 100-page rule book.
Whoa.
And I was like,
no.
yeah,
Hard
like,
pass.
yes.
No.
And
Hard
I was mostly
pass.
I was playing it solo. And it was one of these rule books where in order to play solo, you have to understand how the multiplayer works so that you can make the modifications. And it was just unending. And I was oh God, help me, please. And yeah, I felt bad. Like, it was an expensive game too. And I had to say something, but I did not have the wherewithal to play it more than once, man. That was a grind.
Not that. This is not that at all. The size of the book is probably maybe half the size in terms of width and height of a rule book. Maybe 16 pages in the base game, but most of it, big pictures showing you what to do.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely learnable and fun. And then once you've played it, you're gonna have another potato chip. You're just gonna
That's another thing I like too, is when you have a game where, what is it, Trois, and some of these other games, like, man, I'm gonna need. I know I've played it many times, but guess what? Unless I'm playing it constantly, I forget all the itty bitty things, and those games drive me crazy. Where okay, what does this mean? Well, the verbiage is a little not clear, or there was this one thing we forgot, and I will also throw this in there. I've actually had this a lot recently. I've had games where, okay, you're learning a game, whatever, have a good time. But like getting one little rule, forgetting to give someone a chit here, 15 minutes of the game, totally threw the whole course of the back end of the game off. Yeah. So, and you can't undo it. And it might have, and when the games are that particular, that's another thing that I'm losing my patience for too.
Glenn, you don't like fiddly games. I'm getting the
no.
This will not be that, Glenn, because again, while the rule book does show you all the rules in great detail, your player aid is one card.
Oh, great.
Here are the 3 things you can do on your turn.
Oh, awesome.
You do 2 of them. Here's what your particular character adds that the others don't. That essentially, once you've played the game once, is all you really need.
That's like 99% of the
words
game, right?
on the cards. Yes,
Perfect.
absolutely.
Perfect.
Yeah. That's
remembering how many cards to draw at the start, or remembering what to do, all that stuff. You just kind of, I always kind of refresh the rules at the very start. But other than that, everything's on the front and back of that little card.
Yeah, I can super appreciate that. I'll throw out just one more example, right? Castellan's behind you gives every player a little rule book that they can keep right in front of them, which I really love.
Super helpful.
And that lesson was learned, I believe, from a game I really love about theirs, Daily Magic, is called Sailing Towards Osiris. And Sailing Towards Osiris, which I think is a great game, had a rule summary on the back with the Achilles tendon that it didn't put all the rules on the back. So you would, if you were using that as your guide, you missed something vital.
Oh no.
Oh. Yes. It was just like, I'm like, oh my God, I've been playing this wrong for like the last 2 years, whatever, But it's
They only promised to direct you generally toward Osiris. They didn't actually.
That's right. It's like that.
A map.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
did say sailing toward.
Yeah.
That's all it said.
And then
toward.
the general direction of Osiris was the original working name.
Right.
I was just thinking the other day, like, when I used to take directions, like, I'm so happy I have GPS, because I remember like being with my Aunt Laura on the phone. She's like, then turn by the red light. There's a big bush. Take a right. I'm like, okay. Yeah. Like, I'm glad I'm not doing that anymore.
You're hoping that bush is still there. Well, that's Unmatched Slings and Arrows. Steve and I, thumbs up, right, Steve?
Thumbs up.
Yes. And unlike Steve, I recommend it to anybody that likes fun.
Wow. Selective.
But if you're not into fun, then I'm with Steve. It's probably not your game. Yeah.
Sure.
Probably not your game.
Hey guys, do you breathe? I got a game for you.
That's the criteria. All right. So it's a board game show, Glenn. What does that mean?
Nothing to me.
It means we got to play a board game.
Oh,
okay. No bullet bourbon before the show starts, Steve.
Right.
Oh, I gotta remember
Too
that,
late.
especially when the guest is drinking water and I'm drinking bourbon. So true. All right, we're gonna play our board game here with Glenn and Verla and Steve, and the chat crew can jump in.
And by the way, when you say I'm drinking water, is that because I said I'm drinking Michelob?
Well, you said you were gonna have some this weekend. I didn't realize you're doing it right now.
Yeah, it's on an IV drip.
Okay, that's it. We're going to play a brand new game as a tradition of this show, of this season. I mean, we just decided that we're just going to play new games every week.
The drip is going right into my mullet.
Glenn, this one is called the Did You Know game.
Okay.
Know being KNEAUX, of course.
Oh,
Did you
okay.
know? Did you know game? This game is very simple. I've got 6 questions.
All right.
I'm going to ask each of you a question.
Uh-huh.
We'll start with Glenn and then we'll move over.
All right.
You are expected to absolutely know the answer to this question. That is not true. You're probably not going to know this answer.
Okay.
You got to fake it.
Yeah.
Fake it.
Right.
You know this answer, unless you don't know it.
Right.
But I'm going to ask you the question. You give us the
like
answer.
every job interview I've ever been on.
Exactly. This is a job interview. Yeah. So what kind of cat would you say you are if you got this job? That's what this thing is. 6 questions. They relate to our game tonight. And so when I start with Glenn, Glenn's going to give his answer. And then Steve and Verla, you got to decide. Are you going to go with Glenn's answer? If you're right, and Glenn gave you the right answer, you get 2 points. If you say, I don't think Glenn's right, and you say no, and you're right about that, you get 1 point. So more points if you go with Glenn.
Yeah.
Less points if you don't.
Okay.
Chat crew, you can play along. We're going to see who can score the most points.
All right. If I were a cat, by the way, I would be roadkill.
A calico?
That's the side of the...
Oh, dear.
A roadkill. I'm going to have to ask my vet about that flavor of cat, the roadkill cat.
Yeah, it's a breed that I specialize in. Go ahead.
The Did You Know game. Are we familiar with the rules? Do we feel like we have them all down, Steve?
Does Glenn get points if he could convince us to go with his answer?
Well, there's six questions, and each of you are going to get 2 questions. Okay.
Oh, we all have to come up with stuff.
Yep, you got it. I'm going to give you the question.
I am an encyclopedia of.
Okay.
Chris says stealing that. If I were a cat, I'd be roadkill. Okay. Question number 1.
No plagiarism, Chris. No plagiarism.
So we're going to go, Steve. We're going to go this way. I'm going to ask Glenn, then I'm going to ask Steve a question, then Verla. And then we'll reverse draft it. So Verla, you'll be you'll have 2 questions in a row. Okay, so first question. Glenn, did you know that Ireland and Louisiana are actually 2 different areas of the world? Yet they do share some connections. But first, and we're going to talk about those tonight. But first, Glenn, which one is bigger in terms of actual area? Which one is bigger? Ireland or Louisiana? And chat crew, you can think of your answer too.
Well, as you might know, I am Irish, 50% Glenn Martin Brendan Flaherty. And with the anglicized O, because they didn't know how to put the accent on top, typical Anglo destruction. But it's an interesting question, and one that I've actually investigated for. So because my father actually was a big supporter of having United Ireland, You know, there's the North Ireland, the South Ireland. So when you say Ireland, if you talk to the people in the South, this is Ireland that's been partitioned. But if you talk to the people in the North, they're like, no, we're Britain, you know, and you are Ireland. We are, you know. So it depends on which one. I can tell you
talking
that
about the Republic of Ireland.
the Republic of Ireland.
It's on its own.
Excluding the 6 counties.
Yes. But if you're talking about that, which I know a lot about, like its religion, its political leanings, its size, its main crops, we can also talk about potatoes. When I met my family, my in-laws for the first time, they didn't know anything about me or my culture. And they were really scrapping hard to say something. And my brother-in-law was just there like eating. And like the light bulb went over his head. He said, hey, do you like potatoes? I was like, yes, I do. Now we are bonded.
Connection.
But the Republic is smaller.
Oh, so Glenn says Ireland smaller than Louisiana.
Yeah,
Steve,
it is, because I was going to go down anyway with Mardi Gras. Go ahead.
Your answer, Steve.
I do agree with him.
You agree. Verla, up to you.
Glenn's right.
Glenn's right. Okay. And the answer is Ireland is 1.6 times smaller than Louisiana. So congratulations. That is 2 points for Steve, 2 points for Verla. Chat crew, keep track of your numbers. So if you, as you play along with us.
And since we now know that I was right, we will all just agree that I know what I'm talking about.
He does. He knows what he's talking about. So remember that when he gets his next question. Glenn's never wrong, at least according to this game.
According to the 20 I slipped you earlier, I'm never wrong.
Let's see if Steve is also never wrong. Steve, question number 2.
Okay.
Did you know that Ireland and Louisiana are 2 different areas in the world? It's true.
I heard this.
But what about in terms of people? Which one is bigger in terms of population, Ireland or Louisiana?
Well, that's interesting. You look at the island of Ireland, and you'll probably see that there are smaller villages. There are some cities, but I think with the population density, given that it's a larger space to begin with, but also cities of greater density, including New Orleans, I would definitely have to say that Louisiana has a higher population than the entire Republic of Ireland.
Oh, Glenn and Verla, are you convinced? Steve says, chat crew, what do you think? Louisiana, you say Louisiana is larger than Ireland. Correct?
Yes, because Belfast is in the north.
Okay, got it. Verla, you're up this time.
I am gonna go with Steve.
She's with Steve, the self-proclaimed Irish expert. Glenn,
going well, BJ. I agree with Steve as well, because Ireland actually leads as one of the leading countries in shrinking population in the country.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, the population of Louisiana is roughly about 4.5 million people, but unfortunately for you two, about 741,632 more people live in Ireland.
Steve, you are a failure. You have let me down.
So that is no points for Verla or Glenn.
Glenn doing an impression of my parents will not earn you any respect on this game.
Chris went with Louisiana too. Sorry about that. And of course, these are from mylifeelsewhere.com. So I'm sure these are totally accurate.
Sure, it's totally valid.
The Irish population isn't actually larger. It's just that when they're drunk, they see double.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That is true. That is why.
The Irish do
if
take
you mean Galway, that is.
Yeah, we Irish do take up some space. There's the social space that they take up as well.
Yeah. It's the potatoes.
Question number 3.
All right.
Verla, did you know that Ireland and Louisiana are 2 different areas on the globe?
Are they?
Okay. So here's, Chris says your logic is flawless, by the way, Glenn.
Thank you.
We totally agree. Both Cajun music and Irish music are known for their use of fiddles. Steve will tell you that, right? Reels versus a 2-step, of course. But I'm going to throw out a famous fiddler, and you tell me, was that fiddler Cajun or Irish? So it's a binary choice. Just got 2 choices.
Okay.
And hopefully the names will give you the clues, right? I mean, you think of Louisiana, you think of funny names, right? You think of Ireland, you think of totally names. I mean, Steve, I'm not a Cylon. You know that. I play things straight in every game we play.
You are utterly trustworthy in every way.
So the first one, Boris Connor, Conner, Irish or Cajun?
How many
Famous
of these are you
fiddler,
giving me?
Boris
Just one?
Connor. What's that?
Are you just giving me one?
You only have one.
Okay.
Boris Connor, Conner.
How do you spell the first name? Is it V like Verla?
Varise. I mean, a typical spelling, right? Boris Connor.
Yeah.
Boris Connor. Didn't they help like save the world from the robots?
Right.
I'm pretty sure that's
John
that's how I
Connor's
get 'em.
relative.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say he's Cajun.
Chris is going Cajun. Verla's going Cajun. Let's go with Steve. Steve?
I know the answer.
I am going to agree with Cajun because I'm thinking Connor would either be one or two N's, but it would be OR rather than ER for Irish. So
Okay.
I'm going to say Cajun.
Okay.
Well, Connor started out as Irish, who then settled Scotland and then was brought by England forcefully, resettled, and again the name was anglicized. So the actual heritage is Irish. That's the correct answer. You don't have to check. Just give me the points.
Well, I like where Glenn was going. About 5 or 6 generations before, his ancestors did grow up in Ireland, but they moved in the late 1700s, early 1800s to Louisiana, and Boris Connor spoke French and was as Cajun as they come, even though he did have an Irish last name. So his heritage, Ireland.
I'm going to have a review. I'm going to get the Olympic Commission here.
I think you submitted it 4 seconds too late.
4 seconds
I
too late.
know.
Part of that. Yep.
Olympics.
Okay, so who gets the points there?
I will get 2 points.
Yeah,
Verla said Cajun, but the person who gives the answer gets no points. They have to earn it by agreeing with somebody else.
That's right.
So I have
or going the other way and just getting one.
Or going the other way, but they would only win the one if they're right that way. Got it.
Back to Verla for another question.
Back to
Are we
me.
ready?
Okay.
Did you know that Louisiana and Ireland are separate sections on the map? And if you did, I've got a fiddler for you, another fiddler.
Joke is
a name for you, Martin Hayes. Is Martin Hayes Cajun or Irish?
Definitely Irish.
No spellings? You don't want to know any spellings? No.
No. I just know deep down in my heart.
She knows.
All right. Up to you, Glenn. Is Martin Hayes Irish or Cajun?
Martin as Irish a name as you're going to get. Glenn Martin, right in front of you, home slice. Don't be pulling none of that 300 years ago shenanigans with me.
Chris says Irish. Verla says Irish. Glenn says Irish. Steve, where are you going? You could steal a point.
I'm gonna strategirate and not try to steal a point, but play defense. I'm gonna agree also. I'm gonna say Irish because I do agree with Chris that BJ might do the flim flam. But not necessarily twice in a row. I'm going to agree and say Irish.
Well, I'm disappointed because Martin Hayes is one of the most famous of all Irish fiddlers. He was definitely Irish, and I thought I could fool you guys on that one. There are some Martins that are Cajun, so
your fooling is as good as your jokes.
Not even close. Not even close. The last fiddler for you goes to Steve. Steve?
Oh, geez.
You ready for the last fiddler?
Another fiddler, yep.
Dennis McGee.
Dennis
McGee Cajun or Irish?
You spell McGee.
I'm giving you a hint. I'm giving you his name, Dennis McGee. You should be able to tell right away from that name, right?
Are you saying Denis McGee?
Dennis McGee. MC Big G E.
Dennis McGee. It is Mick, not Mac. Okay. All right. All right, here's the Cajun flip here, and this has nothing to do with knowing Dennis, but it has to do with, I think, knowing BJ. I think this is going to be your Cajun fiddler here. I'm saying Cajun.
Evan said he's into Indian food. It's McGee. Okay. All right. So Steve says Cajun.
It's a clarified reel. Yeah.
Steve says Cajun. Chris says ain't no Dennis's in Ireland.
Oh, my father is though.
That was a great ghee pool, by the way, on the clarified.
That was good.
Yep.
Jared says, even if it's wrong, I'm pretty sure Steve is still right. I like that one. Okay, so enough stalling. Glenn, you got to go. Dennis
He is
McGee.
Scottish in origin, but you're going to say he's Cajun. You're going to steal it from me, just like you did with my potato crops. Continue.
So wait, you can't go both ways. Which one? You got to commit to one or the other.
Cajun. I'll say Cajun.
Okay. Verla?
Cajun.
Really?
Raging Cajun.
This is your chance to get a point on Steve, on Steven.
If I'm wrong, that's the thing.
Wrong. I don't know.
Might have to play defense on some of this.
Yeah, you know what? I changed mine. I'm going to say Irish.
Okay.
Let's do the long ball. Let's do the Hail
sticking
Mary.
with my
Final answer?
Final answer.
Dennis McGee is one of the oldest and best known Cajun musicians. Yes, it is true. About 5 or 6 generations ago, his family moved from Ireland to Louisiana, but Dennis McGee spoke French. And there's a funny story about Dennis McGee. He met up with I think it was a New York Times reporter. I'm going to botch this story because I don't know it exactly, but the Times reporter was like, "Your name is McGee." Yes, Dennis McGee. And you speak French? And he didn't speak a lot of English. He spoke a little, but he didn't speak a lot. And he's like, well, of course, he said, McGee's a Cajun name.
Nah.
Because he had only heard McGee's speak French. So McGee's and Manuel's and Connor's, to those people, they were actually French because that's all they heard.
That's all they
It's
knew.
a tough call because these are really tough ones because you come down from Canada, you come down from Cape Breton, you're talking about coming over from Scotland and Ireland and then a hop, skip, and a jump down to.
And neither Connor nor McGee came the traditional route through Acadia and Nova Scotia. These are guys that came down over in the 1870, 1880. That after the 1848 issues, they came down. Their families came down to make a new life. So interesting. Last question. Question number 6. This is a chance. Steve, you want to give us the wrap up on the points? See how close we are.
So far, Verla has 4. Glenn has 2.
Whatever.
And I have 6.
Okay, here we go. It's between.
Oh wait, you want to change the ruling for the last
this
one?
one's for 1,000 points. Yes.
Okay. For 1,000 points, and if Glenn can fake us out, he gets 2,000 points.
If Glenn can fake you out, he gets 2,000 points. I love that.
Fair.
I love that. All right, here we go. Question number 4. Question number 6. Speaking of music, Glenn was a music teacher. Maybe still is. I'm not sure, Glenn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no one knows.
As a music teacher, not even Glenn knows. Not even Glenn's wife knows. As a music teacher, Glenn knows that a fiddle is tuned E-A-D-G, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's very true, except if you're a Cajun musician. So, Glenn, what is the tuning, generally speaking, on a Cajun fiddle? And if you can get the first string, that's the most important. You don't have to get the rest of them. But if you can get that first string, of course, I'll be impressed.
It's actually reverse fifths, but on a Cajun instrument, it's more standardized. So it's E-A-D-G, like on a guitar. And then the other instruments go E-B-G-A. So it's going to be E-B-G-A.
E-B-G-A. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And the reason why the B is off there is so that you can still hit everything as you go up.
Sure. Got it. Like that open tuning. I like it. E-A-D-G-B, says Evan. E-A-G. What did you say? E-A?
E-B-G-A.
E-B-G-A. E-B-G-A. Let me write that down so I won't mess it up. All right. The Gumbo Overlord's going to go last, Steve. I'm sorry. I'm going to put pressure on you here. E-B-G-A. That's
but did you say only the first letter mattered?
Well, Glenn knows his stuff with it. I should have known that. He knew right away. It's E-B-G-A.
Evan is faking me out with CBGBs here. That's a little different.
Is that the LA nightclub? Is that what he said?
No, it's New York downtown. That was
New York.
Down in the Bowery. I actually played it once. I played it just before it closed.
CBG.
Yeah. That and a place called Don Hills. Good times.
Okay.
You might have seen Steve at Don Hills.
You're going to put... All right.
I think Steve's stalling. It's definitely not South by Southwest. E-A-D-G.
I am no, E-B-G-A. BGA, he said.
Sorry, EADG is what a standard fiddle is, and he said nope, for Cajuns it's EBGA.
Right.
Yeah. I am going to agree with him, and I'm going to explain my logic because I have no idea, but he said it.
I'm ready to
you
believe
asked him. You asked him to say it again, and I had already forgotten what he said, and he said the same letters in the same order. So it's he stuck an answer and then repeated it twice.
And Glenn, I wasn't trying to fool you, because that is a common trick where you ask somebody the same thing and they come up with a different answer. I had just forgotten to write it down, and you did say the same one twice for a while.
He did.
He did.
He did.
So you're saying Glenn is correct.
That feels knowledgeable.
BADG.
Evan's just throwing letters. Evan's throwing element of P next.
Right. You beat him to it. Verla.
Yeah, he has me sold on it. Glenn's got it.
Glenn.
Yeah.
Glenn says EADG. No.
He said
EBGA, because
Yeah.
that's what
he said.
Cajuns use. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he said.
Well, a little background. Most accordion players use a C accordion.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easier if they tune down to make sure that the open string on the fiddle is C. And that way they can just bounce that open string as the accordion is playing.
As a drone.
So that means they tune down to a D, G, C, F to get that third main string on the form into an open.
Wow. This
Of
room
course-
is full of suckers.
Wow.
Of course, Zydeco fiddlers tune down even more to B flat open string because they use the B flat accordion for Zydeco music. So
I play accordion, and I have two. The piano one I can play fine.
Sure.
That button accordion blows my
diatonic?
brain apart.
yeah,
Man, I
diatonic.
cannot wrap my head around that one at all.
It's like playing a harmonica a little bit because it's diatonic. It's one, it's in, out, in, out. It's very tough though. I can play a piano or accordion.
Oh, great.
I am not very good. I can play like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. That's about it.
Yeah.
On the diatonic accordion. So that means that Verla the Gumbo Overlord. No, wait. Well,
So
I
here's
think
what happens.
Glenn got
Verla
2,000
has
points.
4. I have 6, and Glenn has 2,002.
Wow. That's how you do it.
Yep.
Gotta
Yep.
let the guests win.
Well, just like my mom always said, bringing up the rear. That's what I do.
2,002 points. That
Way to
is
come through. Thanks,
that
team.
is
We
so good.
used to say that when we would go to the track and watch horse racing, and they would make the call that the horse in last place was not in last, but they would say and Munchkin can see them all. So it's a kind of nice way of saying he's got everything in front of him. We're looking forward to it.
Hey, chat crew, post in here how many points you got. I'm curious because we saw some wrong answers in there. I am curious how to do it. But that's our, what did I call this one? Don't you know?
Did you know?
Don't you know?
Did 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 you know? Game. And that's sponsored by our friends at Game Toppers LLC. Don't forget, make your game nights a showstopper when you play on a Game Topper. You missed out on the Game Toppers LLC Kickstarter, but you can still late pledge, and they've got tons of game mats, tons of all the new stuff on there. Make sure you check it out. Evan says he's got 3,002 points. You're missing the X. You're missing the X. Sorry. That is not correct. Make your game nights a showstopper when you play on a Game Topper. All right, board gamers, that's it for another episode of Gumbo Live. We planned this for months, and I think we pulled it off fantastically. Thanks to our friend Glenn Flaherty. Glenn, Board Games of Bourbon, the Euro Board Gamers, Grand Gamers Guild. How can people, the myriad of ways, but what's the best way if they want to get in touch with you about the show?
First, I just want to say thanks for having me back. It's always fun. I really do appreciate this, and it's always a good time, especially
you
to
make
see
it
you
easy,
guys.
man.
I do what I can. But you can find me at Board Games and Bourbon on Twitter or X and Facebook and YouTube. And when I'm not drawing with my 4-year-old, I try to make video reviews. My new video that's going to go up is Salton Sea. So look out for that one.
To talk about it. I really wanted to hear it because it's
We'll
on
get
my
to it.
unplayed shelf right here. I'm looking at it right here. And I
We have
really
a lot of
want to play it.
time.
right?
Don't worry about it. What's that?
I'm telling BJ I sent you that, right?
Yeah, I was. It came from you, Verla. It's
okay.
sitting right here. I want to play it. I just haven't got a chance to play it yet. So
Talk about gifts and giving people things. I don't know if I ever told you this. Back when I was doing music, I wrote a music book. It was kind of like theory and about more than music, but the whole thing about performing and about being in front of people. Verla, like you gifted BJ a game. There's a a mom who attended the store, and I wanted to gift her a copy. You know, she had been a wonderful supporter of the store for so long. And I said, hey, I want to give you this book. It's for you. And she said, thank you so much, you know, because I have this wobbly table. Yeah.
Well, check out TIR Na Nog. It's on Kickstarter right now. It's already funded, and there's a lot of cool stuff you can get it. Make sure you check that Kickstarter out.
Steve's join it because the pledge manager is going to have more fun stuff, and we're going to do reveals throughout it. So just join just so you can talk and hang out too.
Yeah. Hey, just back it for $1. Hang around, and when that big thing comes out, you're just going to want to hit the back button.
Yeah,
so
totally.
Check that out again. And Nick, of course, it's Jimmy C. Newman, the pride of Mamou, Louisiana. Big Mamou, good old Mamou. It's definitely Jimmy C. Although I love Dr. John, Jimmy C. Newman all the way. All right, board gamers, make sure to like our Facebook page, facebook.com/BoardGameGumbo, and our YouTube channel. It helps us get the word out about all of our upcoming shows. We're on hiatus as I travel. Next week, we're on summer break. But when we get back, you can catch us on twitch.tv/BoardGameGumbo every other Tuesday night, where we play your games live on Twitch. It's tough to make a good nog without eggs, but they done it. They made a great nog. Check out that Kickstarter. I'm BJ from Board Game Gumbo, and for Glenn, and for Steve, and for Verla. Until next time, laissez the bon temps rouler.
See you, friends.
Sayonara.